Sorry.
I love you. This is a phrase that is commonly misused and overused in a number of different circumstances, whether it be material things such as food, possessions, etc., or living things such as people, animals, etc. I've learned from my own experiences and the experiences of people around me that lust and love are not the same. And after doing further research, I found some factual evidence of this as well. I'm going to be showing you this today by looking at the definitions of the words, how and why they are confused, and although they are not the same, how lust can lead to love. First, let's look at the definitions. Webster Dictionary defines love as a strong affection for another arising out of kinship or personal ties. I can tie this back to my own personal definition, but I also wanted to know the personal definitions of other people that I know. So I sent a survey out to MHS students to get their opinions. I asked the question, what is your definition of love? And as you can see, I got lots of different responses. But the overall gist that I came up with that people said was caring about someone deeply and not wanting to live without them. Next, I looked at the definition of lust. Webster Dictionary defines lust as usually intense or unbridled sexual desire. When I asked the students of MHS their definition of lust, they pretty much told me the exact same thing, sexual desire for a person. Terry Orbuck, a professor of sociology at Oakland University, says when you're drawn to someone based solely on physical and sexual attraction, that is what lust is. They also said that this is the feeling that you feel at the beginning of a relationship where it's new and exciting and you don't really know what it is, so you assume that it is love, but it is indeed lust. Now that we know the definitions, we can see that they are not the same thing. So why do they get confused? Let's start off with some common things that we see on a daily basis that might lead us to this confusion. First thing you probably heard of is forbidden love. This is seen in many different movies, for instance, the two that I've showed you up here. And one thing you guys maybe have heard of is Romeo and Juliet, and I know most of you have because we had to read it and watch the movie, I think sophomore year. But basically, forbidden love is really lust. It's when people are driven together based on the fact that other people or circumstances don't want them together. It makes it exciting for them, and it really is just the honeymoon phase that no one ever really gets out of. And at the end of Romeo and Juliet, they end up they're not killing each other, killing themselves for each other. So if that is love, I don't really want to be a part of that. Next is love at first sight. This is when you see someone from across the pond or across the room or whatever you want to call it, and you think, man, they are good looking. So you go and you text your friends and you're like, it was love at first sight. Like, honestly, this person is so good looking. But is it? How can you know everything you need to know about that person to love them? All you know is that you think they're good looking. The next thing we're going to talk about is addiction. People can be addicted to many different things. Habits, food, honestly anything. But there are also can be addictions to lust. In an article titled, Love Actually, The Science Behind Lust, Attraction, and Companionship, written by Catherine Wu, she found that when we are attracted to someone, our dopamine levels surge. Because of this makes us addicted. This also can be common in a new relationship, and as we are getting older, we're all experiencing our first loves or our first real relationships, and like I said before, we don't really know what it is, so we just assume that is love. And even as this feeling fades, we want what we had before, and we crave that attraction and initial feeling that we had. This can also be why it is hard for us to leave a bad relationship, even though we know we should. Another thing that can confuse us is the unrealistic timing that movies and TV shows have. If you've seen The Bachelor, you probably know what it's about, but basically they get 25 women and a main man to come on the show, and they date for about 2 months, but they realistically see each other once a week. So then at the end, he gets down on one knee and proposes. Most of these relationships don't work out, and I'm sure you all can guess why, is that they never really got out of the lust stage until after they get out of the show. This is not enough time for them to go through the cycle of love, which is my next point, how lust leads to love. There are many different types of relationships, dating, family, friendships, but I'm going to be focusing on dating relationships. In a dating relationship, you start off with your initial physical attraction. This could be the love at first sight, which we already established is not love. And you see a person and you just want to talk to them. And if you talk to them and all goes well, you might start to date them and begin the honeymoon phase. This, like I said before, is where everything's new and you have butterflies and you just want to be around that person all the time. And as you get more comfortable with the person in the honeymoon phase, you develop the lust. This is when you desire the person and you just want to be around them all the time. But as all or most good things do, they have to end, and the honeymoon phase ends. This is when you start to realize that nobody's perfect and everybody has flaws, including the person that you've chosen to be with. This is when you decide if you love the person / you're in love with them, so you care about them a lot, or you want to spend your life with them, or you are not in love with them. And no relationship is a waste of time, because even if it ends not in love, you've learned from this relationship, and you can apply it to future relationships. But if it does lead to love, that's just an example of how lust can lead you to love. So now we know that lust is not the same thing as love, but it can lead to love. Today I've showed you the definitions of the words, how and why they get confused, and finally, how they can go together. I hope you can apply this to your future relationships or even your current relationships and ask yourself the question, is this love or is it just lust? Thank you.